Hi boys and girls, I'm Jesse J.
And I'm Special K.
And we want to welcome you to our next episode of Rhino Radio. And on this episode we got the good fortune to talk to author, writer, fellow martial artist and all round cool dude, Karl Clancy.
Let's start the show. You!
Max on.
Oh, you can panic. Boom! Hey Karl, how's it going? It's great to see you again.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me up here. Looking forward to whatever you want to throw at me. So,
thanks for being our very special guest on Rhino Radio, and yeah, we'll just get straight into it.
cool.
Sorry.
Knock yourselves out.
So Karl, where did it all start for you? Martial arts, like how did
Martial
you get
arts. Right. I suppose it started for me because my dad was a boxer as a young man, and even though he was only 10.5 stone, he used to box light heavyweight because when he put a hand on someone, they didn't get up again. So
Quite impressive.
he knew how to hit people. Unfortunately, life events kind of got in his way, and he hit the bottle, and then he had his family. So we learned very early on how to take a punch, and by the time I was 15, I had decided ninjutsu had just come to town, and I was like, right, I'm going to learn this, and I'm going to drop him on his arse first chance I get. And that happened, by the way. So
You don't have any footage.
I had no.
18 years of age, we had a big argument, and he pushed me through a bedroom door, pinned me to the wall, and then he went to take a swing, and by the time he had taken his swing, I'd hit him twice, so that knocked him. And then my mother said, "You need to leave the house now," and I went, "Absolutely, because I don't want to be here when he gets back up."
That must have been heartbreaking as well, though. At the same time, Karl, I know you have a great attitude about it.
It was at the time I was a very angry young man. I'd spent most of my early years as just an angry kid who beat people up. Big people, little people, people who got in the way, all sorts, anything. Just angry all the time. And that translated into doing things as well. Very light fingered. I was a bit of a tea leaf, yeah, because basically you want someone to notice, you want someone to see you, and people don't see you because you're this kid. It was 70s Ireland. I'm that old. Yes, I am. It was the 70s.
Just like to point out how great Karl looks, by the way.
Thank you.
Am I right?
I'll pay you later.
The suit!
I'll pay you later. Anyway, yeah, so that's what started me off in ninjutsu, and
How long did you do that for, did you say, Karl?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, coming up and down to Dublin every second weekend to the combat zone on Parnell Street, getting the absolute head beaten off me by two guys from Belfast, Alan and Martin McCann. And Martin McNulty was the sensei at the time. This is 1987. Yeah, 1987 was when I started doing that nonsense. And it went from there, like into a bit of kickboxing in Dave Cowley's gym back in the day. Some Shaolin Kung Fu, but didn't really like it. My first Shaolin Kung Fu class was great crack. 20 minutes at the back of the class in one pose on one foot, just stood there. And at the end, the Sifu comes down and he says, "Yeah, your legs are in pretty good condition." He says, "Get up there." I stood up and he went, "Change sides." And I went, "Oh no, 20 minutes on the other side again."
Yeah.
Shaking out. It was like, yeah, so I did that for a little bit and then just went, no, not for me. And then I, through a friend, met a guy in Tipperary, and he was teaching at home mostly, either aikijutsu, taijutsu, stuff like that, some ninjutsu, and very much like the traditional Togakura-ryu ninjutsu before it became Ninpo Taijutsu from Hatsumi. So it would have been Takamatsu's Togakura-ryu ninjutsu, old school stuff.
Right.
And that he had picked up in the Merchant Navy in the, I think, late 40s, early 50s. He's an old boy. But he was also teaching Yang style Tai Chi. So I was kind of learning both.
Okay.
And we kind of melded all that into one thing. But I remember the first day I met this guy, and we were doing sticky hands, and he was just like, And I couldn't hold on to him. I couldn't get near him. And it was like, oh, okay. So he said, come on out the back. We went out the back. And he said, take a swing. He said, whatever you like, just take a swing. This guy's 55, 56. He was even older than me, like. And I decided, right, you don't know I'm left-handed. So I'm just going to hit you a belt beside the head with a left hook. We'll see what's what then.
Okay, no fear.
I got about halfway through it, and it was just... I was sitting on the ground like a fish out of water.
No way.
I was like, what the fuck was that? And he was, yeah, that's Tai Chi. I was like, okay, I want to learn that.
I want to learn this now.
Because it wasn't effort. There was no effort. It was just like, oh, down I went. And
Wow.
then I spent a lot of time going over and back to Liverpool. There's a Chinese community over there and learning with, from them, and did a bit then with an old boy named Frank Beattie at an exhibition one day. And Frank wandered out as though his two plastic hips were both loose. And he comes out and says, right, let's see what you got. And he takes a swing at me, or I take a swing at him, and he just goes, doop, doop, and places me gently on the ground, and then kicks me into the head. And he did the whole thing as though he was just doing some shopping. And I got up and I went, right, I'm going full bore at this old lad now this time.
Right, okay, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was still very much in the mode of, I am going to drop you.
Yeah,
You know, the angry young man had not left the building.
Okay.
So I went fucking full bore at him, and he just went, huh? Oh, oh. Just caught me right in the back of the ear and was just like, you alright? Yeah, don't do that again.
Just
And
completely.
that was like eye-opening. And all of a sudden I was on a martial arts path that was, these guys were old men that I could take out in a fight any day of the week. So they didn't fight me. They just beat me up. These weren't people who were going to go toe to toe and let's go, let's have a fight.
They didn't want to take any damage.
No.
They just-
No, they wanted to let me do all the damage and all of that.
yeah.
And that's where I learned two concepts, symmetrical and asymmetrical combat. Now, what you guys do in a ring, that's symmetrical combat. Because both guys getting into the ring know the rules. Both guys are going to play by the rules. And both guys understand that the other guy can hurt them. So, you know, whether it's kickboxing or boxing or MMA, it's a cagey affair. Like, you know, you don't go in full bore, and as soon as you go in, you don't take your biggest swing to knock somebody out.
Yeah.
Whereas asymmetric fighting is what you see in a pub. One guy takes a mad swing at the other guy as hard as he can to knock him clean the fuck out. There's no thought of rounds or anything else. It's just, I'm going to hit you, you're going to fall down, and that's going to be the end of the fight. That's what a martial artist wants. He wants your total commitment to the swing, because you can't undo the total commitment to the swing. Once you've got that swing going, you can't halfway through it go, oh, I better not. And that gives the martial artist all the timing, because you've committed to the act. It's different to kickboxing, it's different to boxing. The martial artist doesn't want to fight, he wants to go home.
Yeah.
So his job is to wait for you to commit and then deck you, using all your momentum, your force. And it doesn't matter whether it's karate or tai chi or kung fu or whatever. And one of the best modern examples of asymmetric combat was Aldo versus McGregor. That fight, McGregor should have lost. Sorry lads, but he should. It's Aldo, 10-year champion, never been beaten. So McGregor beat him before he ever got in the ring. He spent months poking at him. And what did Aldo do when he got in the ring? He threw the hardest punch he could as fast as he could, because all he wanted to do was take this kid's head off. And all McGregor did was wait for it to come, because he knew it was coming. Sidestep, thank you very much. Good night, I'm going home. Oh, and by the way, 60 grand, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the start, and that was the best example of an asymmetric combat. Robbie Lawler, Cowboy Cerrone, that's symmetrical combat. It's, we're going to war, and it's two guys have to meet,
Yeah.
and it's whoever can withstand the damage. Same as in Thai boxing, same as in kickboxing. You know, you're going to get hit. I don't want to get hit. I'm too old to get hit now. If I get hit now, I'm going to cry.
It's not over too much.
No, like my last, I did a boxing match. It's 9 years ago now, and it's a friend of mine, and he rang me and he said, "Listen, we're doing this charity exhibition match. It's 3 3-minute rounds. Would you be in for fighting me?" And I went, "Why?" And he said, "I can't find anyone to fight me." I said, "That's because of the last fight, Kevin."
What happened the last fight?
Yeah, what happened?
20 seconds in, and he like the other guy was sparked, like completely just sparked out.
That'll do it, Kevin.
And nobody, they called him Bam Bam Blake, and nobody wanted to fight Kevin.
Not
So
a name
I
like
just
that.
went, I don't really have the time. I'm trying to open this gym. I'm learning to weld at the moment, so I can open this gym. I fuck it, go on.
Yeah, you're
So
a good
we-
friend, Karl.
So we went up and we went to have a fight. And I'm 41 and he's 27. So that's a start.
That's, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
we're
challenge.
both in or around the same weight. And I'm like, I really don't want. And then I had discovered that he'd been training for 6 months with the Cashel Boxing Club. I was like, sneaky bastard.
He's already got a few months on you.
He's got a few months and a few years.
Yeah.
And like, younger is fitter and younger is stronger. So I just went, okay, how am I going to close the distance here? He said, he wants to box. No. He's going to have a dirty, nasty brawl.
Nice, Karl.
In close, up close and personal. You're not going to get to dance away. You're just going to get into a dirty brawl. So that's what I gave him for 3 rounds, a dirty brawl. Now, he came away with a split decision win in his home territory. And that's
Yeah.
because in the middle of the second round, he was on his arse. Straight down the middle, jab, straight right, down he went. Now, in fairness to Kevin, you couldn't keep him down unless you parked something on him.
Yeah.
He was straight back up and just grit the teeth and go again.
Fair play.
And he won the last round because it was just warfare.
Yeah.
It was painful. But it was great crack. So then we went for a pint afterwards. But
The best
yeah,
way.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
yeah,
Well,
the offer a
that's
pint and he was buying because he won. So I've suffered the indignity of defeat, so fuck off.
That's the
But
least
yeah,
you could do,
I'm now just approaching 50 in 4 weeks' time. I don't want to get in a fight with someone. No. I'm not getting into a ring to go rounds with someone. No. I'll get into a ring and I'll outrun you. I'll do the Life of Brian on it. Just
Yeah.
keep on running around the outside till you have a fucking coronary.
Yeah.
So that's basically how that's going to work. So yeah, anyway, that's what got me into martial arts. That's what brought me through martial arts, was wanting to learn more all the time. And then all of a sudden, I was training with a guy in Swords, Dave McCartney, and he said, "Why do we do this? Like, we're not warriors. Why do we actually do this?" I was like, that's a very good question. So I spent a long time chewing on that. And there's the obvious, better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in the war. But then there has to be more to it than that too. And that's when the philosophical side started to kick in. And then it was like, well, we try to learn to be the best version we can as fighters. That has to translate to other areas of your life. You've got to do everything as well as you can. You've got to, like the old samurai, you had to be able to let go of everything to do what was necessary in the moment. And to, you can't cut somebody's head off if you're thinking, I get blood everywhere and do I really want to kill him? Because he's going to kill you instead. So then the philosophical argument comes up of, is martial arts simply a way of protecting yourself long enough so that you can learn how to become the best version of yourself?
I love that. I
So
never thought of it like that.
the martial arts then, the tool is protection. I want to get home safe no matter what the battle is. It differs from combat sports in that little bit, that combat sports you actually actively go out and look for a guy to get into the ring with and have it out.
Yeah.
But that's to test your skill.
Yeah.
And that's fine, and that's the purpose of combat sport, is to test skill and to test schools. Who who's teaching the best shit, basically.
That's it, yeah.
And who's learning the best shit.
That's it.
And the best
We
examples.
are, James.
And that's the DNA, and that's the DNA of martial arts. It gets better with good teachers and good students, and then that carries on. So after that, then I started kind of looking into the philosophical more than the martial, and I suppose that's, you know, you get to my age and you start looking at life differently, because my first reaction these days is not I'm going to hit him in the head. Now it's pint. Let's go have a drink. Come on, we'll go have a pint. We'll sort this out. No, okay, right. We'll do it the other way then. But then can we have a pint and sort this out? You know, because like if I have to put you on your arse to get you to see sense, then fine. But you know, I don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
It's much nicer if I can just have a chat with you and we can see what the difference is and work it out. And it makes you a much more relaxed, easygoing kind of person, because you're not putting yourself out there as somebody to fight. Therefore, fights don't come to you. There was a thing with Miyamoto Musashi, the Japanese swordsman dude.
Oh, I know him well, Karl.
Yes. Went to train with monk. And this monk sat down and they went and did their meditation. And during the meditation, a snake comes slithering through, and the snake instinctively understands Musashi's power and his presence, and veers away from it in a no, don't want to go there, could get killed, curls up in the monk's lap and goes to sleep. And an hour or so later, he gets off the monk's lap and off he goes. And Musashi realizes that the goal was not to get the snake to fear you, the goal was to get the snake not to see you. So the snake never noticed the old man as a threat. He never noticed anything. Whereas the old man, all he had to do was go, I got me snake dinner. So
Lunch is coming to me.
lunch is coming to me.
Yeah,
So it's not the projection of I'm tougher than you, I'm harder than you, I will take the head off you. Because that will get people who will go, okay, let's see if you can. The goal is, sure, why would you want to take that off me? I'm old. I'm a little old man. I can't. Like, look at the size of you, the flexibility of you, the strength of you. I couldn't fight you. So I won't.
I'll let you do the fight.
I suppose it's pretty hard to pick an argument with someone that's, saying all that.
But that's why when I go to the seminars, I like to have a bit of fun with them. You know, because I'm not there to prove anything to anyone. I'm just there to just have a bit of crack, meet some nice people, share some ideas, swap some stuff, and just go, yeah, I learned something and I taught something, and that's why we're here. Because at the end of the day, during that seminar, when some of the traditional stuff was being taught, it's like, yeah, but you can't teach that to people in a way that says it's actually going to work on the street. It's good for movement and it's good for relaxation, but it's not good for teaching people how to react in a combat situation. You know, I will never teach a wrist lock willingly in my life. Not one time. Because a wrist lock was designed for a soldier wearing armour to pierce a soldier wearing armour with a knife. He stabs real hard to get through the armour. He exposes the one part of him that can be manipulated, which is his wrist. And then you can manipulate it. And you use the armour and the weight of the other guy and your own armour to do the wrist lock bit. There's no application in a modern sense. Because everybody knows grab and stab. And you got to be able to teach that instead. So teach stuff that works. Not that the other stuff doesn't have a place in tradition. It does. It has a great place in tradition. And it teaches you how to move and it teaches you biomechanics. But it doesn't teach you how to stop getting stabbed in a fight. In fact, it tells you you won't get stabbed in a fight. If you get in a knife fight, you're getting stabbed. You're getting cut. And that should be the very first thing that people tell you. If you're going to get in a knife fight, you're going to get cut. Also, if you're going to get in a knife fight, you're stupid. Run away from somebody who has a knife. Fast.
Preferably.
And don't do what they do in the movies. Looking back, No, because that way you run and you fall over things and they catch you and they kill you. Just run. If he's going to catch you, he's going to catch you anyway. So just pump the arms and legs and get
going.
out of there.
Yeah.
And there you go. So that's the getting into martial arts.
Self-defense tactic number 1 from Karl Clancy. Okay.
Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Run
Bolt.
away.
Well, Karl,
Get
that's
out there.
for anybody watching. We actually met Karl at a master's seminar. It was all like some of the highest, most respected martial arts from all over Ireland, and they were teaching lots of different things that day. And myself and James and Evan had met Karl downstairs before we went up, and he's a lovely guy, as you can hear here. But then when he went up and demonstrated some of the stuff that he could do, we were very quickly alerted to this is not a man to be trifled with. How could this lovely, soft-spoken, cool cucumber of a man
Hurt you very much.
so simply and brutally with nothing more than the tips of his thumbs? So he knows what he's talking about.
Well, I did 4 years of door work to see does it work.
Okay.
That's basically why I did it, was to see, can you put your money where your mouth is? So, yeah, the answer is
Tested in the field.
it works.
It definitely does work.
And it works in a way that I haven't had to batter anyone to take them out of a nightclub. I've encouraged them with varying degrees of pain, or just tying them up and getting them out of there. So, I haven't had to harm anyone to do it. But if I needed to, I could have.
Yeah.
And that was the test. So that was the 4 years of going, does it work? Does it work in the real world? And yeah, it works in the real world.
Absolutely does. What a journey, Karl. Okay, right. So you so that's from your beginning to your end then in martial arts, and you were just kind of attracted
End,
to
I'm only halfway, man.
You're halfway. I'm sorry, I say end. I'll edit that out.
Oh no, leave
But
that
this-
in. This is the halfway point.
In this half, then you'd say you're more, you know what you don't want, and you like the philosophy side of martial arts, the wisdom side, a lot more.
Yes.
The practical side. Yeah.
Well,
find
no, I
yourself
think
there.
that you can't do one without the other. I think that you have to start as a blunt instrument, and you've got to refine it until you're sharp, and then you've got to keep on refining it and refining it and refining it, and then finding new and interesting ways to use it. It's not enough to fight someone across a cage or across a ring. You also have to be able to fight them in business. You have to be able to fight them in daily life. You have to be able to use what you know in interpersonal relationships to protect yourself, to advance your cause. It's all about timing and distance. Martial arts, doesn't matter whether it's the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, it's all about timing and distance. And if you've got the timing right and you've got the distance right, there's very few things you can't accomplish. So martial arts is life. It's not something you put in a bag and walk away from as soon as you walk out of a class. You apply the lessons. That's why what I practice I call Akane-ru Taijutsu. Akane is the Japanese word for deep red. And deep red in Japanese is all about warding off evil. So the deep red style of body art. So moving yourself to protect and ward off evil. Now, also, Akane is what Japanese people will call an angry baby. So it also can be because angry babies have red faces. So it can also be an angry baby. How you use what I teach will either make you someone who wards off evil or an angry baby.
Okay.
That's up to you.
So that's the flip of that coin.
That's Akane-ru, which is what I teach. So the symbol for that is the same symbol as they use in ninjutsu, the nin symbol. And the nin symbol is roughly translates to patience and perseverance. So it's the pursuit of excellence through patience and perseverance. And that's life, man. No matter what you do it as well as you can. Do it in the moment to the exclusion of everything else. If you're thinking about a row you had with your missus when you step into a kickboxing ring, who's winning that fight? The other guy, because your mind is divided. If you're in the moment, you see everything, you're sharper, you're faster, you're looser. So, pursuit of excellence, patience, perseverance. that's how it goes. And that's what I teach.
That's powerful, Karl.
Right. Yeah. Let's lighten the subject. let's bring it back up.
Okay. So can we talk about your YouTube channel, Everyday Mystic?
Oh yeah, the Everyday Mystic. Well, that started a couple of years ago. Right, we're going to bring it right back down again now. Jesus.
These are the interesting things, though.
But 3 years ago, I realized one morning that even though I was able to teach other people all these things, that I'd spend an awful lot of time lying to myself about my own life and how I had dealt with childhood, how I dealt with the angry young man. I kind of buried him, but I'd never gone and talked to him. So he was always in there, and it made relationships difficult, it made friendships difficult, it made me an arsehole in a lot of ways because I always had to know more than everybody else. It made me intolerable, even to myself. But I masked it all very nicely in a successful business, wife, kids, home, and on the outside, everything looked cool and everything looked great. Until, well, basically feelings of worthlessness and all the rest of it kind of surfaced, and when they raised their ugly little heads, I would go off on a bender and drink a bottle of whiskey or something and be grand 2 days later. Get on with it, you're fine.
Yeah.
And then a couple of life events happened. My brother's daughter died, my sister-in-law died, my best friend from childhood died. That all happened very close proximity to each other. And then some of my childhood stuff kind of came back to bite me in the ass. And I went and decided I would try suicide. That would be a good way to finish things. It would make everything quiet. So I woke up one morning in a psychiatric unit going, well, this is a turn up for the books, isn't it? After all the advice you've given people, after all the stuff you've lived and all the stuff you've done
And survived.
all the way, but also all the Akinaru and trying to teach people and living in the moment, and you're a fraud. You're a fucking fraud. Not to everybody else, because you're telling them the truth. You just weren't living what you were telling.
No.
So you weren't walking the walk, you were just talking the talk. So then I had to sit there and go, right, what are we going to do about this then? So I started writing first just to do some journaling, just to get my thoughts out. Then I had to go and talk to some people and basically say, hey look, this is the kind of stuff that happened to me, and this is all the nasty kind of background. And they were kind of like, oh, okay, that explains an awful lot, because humans aren't designed to take the kind of damage that you're talking about. Physical, emotional. Long story short, think of an abuse. I've been there. So, I'm not going to go too far down that road.
Thanks for sharing, Karl. That's incredibly brave, man. Honestly, I know that's probably
I think
overused.
that the very first thing I had to be was honest with myself before I could become honest with other people. And then it became easy to tell other people, because I was no longer afraid of the judgments that they would make. I was like, well, I know the truth, so it doesn't really matter after that. And then as I told people, I started to realize that, well, actually they like you more because you're honest. Oh, okay, so people like you when you tell them the truth honestly and openly. Go figure. So I took it from there and started writing, and then my partner, Rebecca, hey Rebecca.
Shout out to Rebecca. Hey Rebecca.
The cleverest woman around, said, why don't you share these with other people? So I approached the local newspaper and set up the Facebook page, and then set up the YouTube channel and all the rest of that. Check out the Everyday Mystic on YouTube.
On YouTube, and I've watched it.
Also on Facebook.
No, we'll put it up here or something like that. We'll pop up on screen as we do.
But I started doing those, and the editor of the Nationalist newspaper in Tipperary just went, I love these. Can you send one in every week? So I started sending one in every week, just telling my stories, but also then looking at other people's stories and looking at ways of seeing life clearly. And I started working on something that wasn't about me as such, but it was an art that I was learning. And over the last 3 years, kind of getting to grips with, and I will say mastering, because it's an easy one to master once you get told what you should be seeing. And that's the truth.
Okay, we're back. So, Karl, you are not only a lifelong martial artist, you not only have your own YouTube channel, which, like I said, The Everyday Mystic. If you haven't seen them, you need to check them out on YouTube. They're a really good boost, and I mean, I think they're very applicable and applicable to anybody in any situation, any time of day. So you need to check them out. And as I say, I'll probably put something up here.
Just on that, they all deal with the theory and concept that kind of has become my philosophy over the last couple of years, and that's the art of acceptance. And acceptance is simply down to, in any situation, you've got 3 choices. You can either accept something, reject something, or change something. If you're accepting it, you're accepting it for good or bad. If you're rejecting it, you're walking away from it. And if you can, you change it. The idea behind acceptance is not passive, it's active. You've got to make the choice to do something. So making a choice becomes a response instead of a reaction. So instead of being reactive and being guided by either your hurt feelings, your ego, your survival instinct, or your desire to get back at someone, you learn to take a minute, formulate a response that's going to be the best outcome in the situation. And sometimes the best outcome in the situation can just be that you learn, I'm not going to do this again. And you just got to take that away from it. So the lesson may not be the one you wanted, but it'll be the one that's applicable for the situation that you're in. That's the art of acceptance. And all the videos basically talk about seeing life clearly, because you can't make a choice unless you can see life clearly. So if you can't see what the choice is, how can you make a choice? So it's teaching you to take a moment to see what it is you're actually seeing. What is it that's actually happening? And that's when you learn acceptance, and that's when you learn to take control. But also it makes you really relaxed, because things that happen aren't cataclysmic anymore. They're something I can deal with. And that's good for your mental health. It's good for pretty much any kind of health, because one of my little bugbears is there ain't no such thing as mental health. There's just health. It's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's all health.
It should all be weighed the same.
It should all be weighed the same, bar the obvious cases where somebody has a real need for specialist care in a secure environment because they might hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Other than that, in a hospital ward, you might say, what are you in for? Busted leg. And you? Bout of depression. Oh man, I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear about your leg. Equal weight. But that doesn't happen in our society, because you can't see mental health. You can only see a busted leg. A busted brain or a busted spirit is much harder to deal with.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where I get acceptance, and that's what the videos help you to deal with, and that's what the Facebook and Instagram channels are all about. Just seeing shit the way it actually is, not the way you'd like it to be. That's life.
Well, thanks, Karl. Like I said, I mean, it is. I mean, I've watched a couple of your videos. Some of them I've watched 2 or 3 times, and they're really good. I had a bout of a specific mental disorder, and they really kind of helped me through.
It's called kickboxing.
It's not called kickboxing. It's I don't know if you're familiar with psychosis, but it's kind of like the precursor to schizophrenia. And it's a really difficult one to navigate. And although I do would have known about mental health disorders and stuff like that before, like anxiety, depression, stuff like that, something like that really alters your reality, your perceptions, how you see something. So thanks for your bravery earlier on talking about your own trip and your own
if we talk about it, it gets easier, and if we talk about it, we get stronger, because all of a sudden there's a unity, and there's more of us looking at it, and more of us talking about it, and more of us accepting each other as just human beings, not iron bars that have to be strong all the time. We're just people. For the love of Christ, all we've got is each other at the end of the day. And if I isolate myself from you, I isolate myself from the interaction we have. That means I isolate myself from the feelings and the emotions and the thoughts that we would have been sharing. But if I isolate myself from you, I can't experience them for myself either.
Yeah.
So I get trapped. I get trapped inside my own prison, inside me. And all of a sudden, I've got no one to talk to because I don't know how to reach out. And if I don't know how to reach out, I get trapped tighter and tighter and tighter. And I get more brittle and more brittle and more brittle until someday something happens and it'll be a small thing because you'll have weathered all the big things. And then some small thing will just come along and then you'll just buckle like a Coke can that's been stood on. And that'll be it.
I heard a good quote. It's like if you can't bend, you'll break.
In a storm, an oak tree breaks and a willow bends. So when the storm happens, bend.
Bend.
I've never seen grass get knocked over.
Yeah, I can't think of a single time. Grant.
Yeah, blades of grass just go, yep, all good here. Whereas trees go, I am very strong. And the wind goes, no, actually you're not. Very simple.
Thanks,
there are things
Grant.
in life that are just too big,
Yeah.
too much for you.
Yeah.
And that's where we got to share it all.
Yeah.
That's why if I talk about my mental health, I talk about my health. I talk about finding myself in ease, because how I was feeling affected my sleep, it affected my mood, it affected my ability to train, it affected my relationship with my now ex-wife, and she's mostly now my ex-wife because I didn't talk to anyone. Lovely woman, and funny thing is, 11 years later, she's one of my best friends
That's brilliant.
because she knows all the shit I went through. She was there looking at it and going, why won't he talk? Why won't he let us in? Why is he always on the outside and not able to be reached? And they couldn't reach me because I isolated myself. So unless we get it all together and actually go, yeah, it's really important not just to talk, but to accept whatever is being said as the truth, even if it's not the same truth that you'd experience. If somebody says, I feel this way, as soon as they say this is how they feel, shut up and listen, because that's how they feel. It doesn't matter if they're ridiculous, it's still how they feel. There you go.
Thanks, Karl.
That's my little pontification for that bit.
Cheers, man. As I say, The Everyday Mystic, check it out on YouTube, and yeah, you won't regret it.
Give it a like and a
You
share.
might
Like and a
regret it.
share. You might
You
regret
might
it.
regret
I
it.
like and a share. I like and a share. What the fuck? Anyway, Karl, as well as that, you're also an author. You wrote, a pretty good bestseller. I've read some of the reviews. I haven't got a chance to read the book yet, but Bless Me Father.
Yeah,
Can you tell us anything about that?
I was in a relationship and I broke up. I had been with a girl for 5 years. Thought I was doing really well. Apparently not as well as I thought. And I was coming home in the evenings and I had nothing to do. And I had this conversation in my head, and I'd had it for years. It was just between two guys in a confessional, and one's talking to the other. And you get the sense that they know each other. You know, so it's kind of, it's not bless me Father for I have sinned. It's, I just want to have a chat with you. And he's like, do you want to use the official lines? Bless me Father for I have sinned. It has been, I know how long it's been since your last confession. I was here. So do you want the official lines or do you want to have a chat?
Yeah.
And it's just two men having a chat through the privacy and the non-directness of a confessional, where you can talk to the dark and not have anybody look back judging you.
Mm.
And then it started from there. And then I wondered, well, what does he want to say? And the whole idea was always set in the late 80s in Dublin, because that's when I was hanging around Dublin, in the late 80s. And then when I came to work in Dublin in the 90s, and kind of gayness was like this taboo subject that nobody talked about. And I happened to work literally this close to a guy that years later came out as being gay. but nobody knew at the time, except myself and my missus at the time were going, Andy definitely is. He definitely is. Nobody can dress like that and dance like that, and nobody can. So that was what we thought at the time. You know, you're mid-90s thinking. But then I decided, right, well, this cop, because he's a cop in late 80s Dublin, is trying to find out how to tell his wife he's gay. And then it continues on from there.
Oh,
and
wow.
that is tip of the iceberg to what happens to this poor bastard.
Yeah, we can't give too much away. You
Oh,
need to buy it. Where can we find this book, Karl?
Amazon!
Find it on Amazon, guys. Blessed Be Father by Karl Clancy.
.com.
Thanks, Karl. Like I said, I haven't got a chance to read it, but I did read the official back cover of it.
It's a bit dark.
Yeah.
It goes places that some crime thrillers don't go. All I can say is that it's of its time, because at the time you had corrupt politicians, corrupt clergy, corrupt business. You had a lot of goings on in the church, and they all come into the firing line. I mean, it gets interesting. Is of its time, kind of late 80s, a lot of corruption in the police, in business, in the clergy, and everything that came out of that. And this poor bugger, the hero, we'll call him, the anti-hero, he gets thrown into all of that in a very personal way, because he has something to lose. And it says, like on the fly cover of the book, basically he gets to make a choice. Does he find the killer and risk his own secret coming out? Or does he let the killer go, keep his secret, but know that your man's going to keep on killing? And this is the late 80s, and he's a cop. So, yeah,
it sounds like a good book.
It gets dark.
Yeah. Edge of your seat stuff. Karl.
It's 300 pages of filth.
So a lot more people just sign up.
Yeah, worldwide bestseller. Karl, I know, schedule for Oprah next week. Karl, you are writing a new book based off of...
the new book is called The Art of Acceptance. Funny enough.
Wow.
And it's all to do with the philosophy and the story that you guys have been listening to for the last while. It goes through childhood, it goes through abuse and violence, and it goes through the disconnect between me and the rest of humanity, and it goes through suicide attempt, and it goes through coming out the other side of that. And it basically starts with asking the question, if you found yourself in a psychiatric unit of Thursday morning, having been brought there by 3 burly police and had 4 orderlies waiting in a row to work out whether you were going to kick off or come nicely, at which point I just went, lads, 4 of you for one little old me. It'll all be fine.
One little old me.
Yeah. I just walked in and along past them and said, is there any chance I could use a bathroom? And they were kind of looking at me like, this is not typical. Because at that stage I'd had an entire night in the cell to work out what the actual fuck is going on.
Yeah.
So then I started writing it down, journaling it. And then that became a series of articles for the local newspaper. And then as the articles grew, some of them were too big to be used as articles. So they became chapters. And chapters kind of fell into becoming a book. And then I decided, I'm going to formulate this as a guide to navigating modern life, seeing it clearly, making choices, helping yourself in your way, not my way. Because I have no expertise in your life, and neither does anybody else. You know, Carl Jung used to say, thank God I'm young and not Jungian. And what he meant was, Jungians put everything into the Jung boxes. So you had childhood traumas and you had archetypes, and Jung said, but every case is an individual. So you have to treat everyone as a human meeting a human when you meet them, and find out the individual problems that they face. So that's kind of where it came from. Now, I have probably got 30 years of reading everything from Jung to Alan Watts, to Lao Tzu, to Confucius, to Sun Tzu's Art of War, to The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, everything that Terry Pratchett ever wrote, the man is God, even though he would dispute that and say that there is no God. So I would read anything from any philosophy, and that's how I used to apply it to other people. And I used to help other people all the time and like give them great advice. I just shit at taking it myself. So then this book came about as a means of saying, look, these are the mistakes you can make and still be alive at the end of it. Here's how not to make them, because I did, and this is where it got me. So then it was a case of, okay, we'll look at your own ego fighting against you. It's your own survival instinct. And a bunch of mystics and very clever people will tell you, you must transcend your ego. You must get rid of your ego. And I tell them, bollocks. Because ego is what protects me. And that can be good and bad. So being ego-driven, as some people are, just means I want to be self-protected at all times. And when you look at it that way, all of a sudden ego is neither good nor bad. It's just a thing. And it's your survival instinct. It's the part of you that says, I want to survive no matter what. No matter whether it damages a relationship, no matter whether it hurts another person, I must survive. This is an animal survival instinct. So ego is basically the part of you that forgot to evolve and still lives in a cave 95,000 years ago and is afraid of everything. It's afraid of everything that has teeth and talons and claws. But it's also afraid of vulnerability, weakness, commitment, emotional availability, openness. It's afraid of compassion. It's afraid of seeing you as being as valuable as me. And this is what we have to do. We've got to retrain the ego. So you retrain your ego by saying, if I help Karl, and Karl is the same as me, then I have helped me by helping him. So there you go. So we're talking about the two different Karls, by the way.
Yes. It's a rare occasion that there's two of them here, maybe.
If I help you, then I help me. You look at us all as one energy, as one people, as one tribe. There is no black, no white. That's just an accident of the latitude you were born at. There is no language barrier save the language you learned at the location you were born at. So there's only one human species. You know, you have many different species of birds because they're all different, but they're all markedly different. You've got one species of human being. We just have different skin colors. I mean, how is that a good marker? You have a different skin color to me. Does that make you a different to me? No. We're all the same. 2 arms, 2 legs. You know, everything on the inside's the same. We've all got spleens and pancreases and kidneys and livers and brains and emotions and conscience. So if we've all got that, and we've all got the sameness, so therefore we're all one tribe. Terry Pratchett used to say it best. There were the true people, and the true people saw some other people, and they called them the enemy. It would probably have gone better if they had called them some more true people, but they didn't, and here we are. And that's it. It's really simple, and that's why I like Terry Pratchett, because he saw things the way they were. So yeah, I wrote this book.
Okay.
And that's an example of one chapter of the book, why your ego lies to you, and how an awful lot of the mystics don't really get it in a day-to-day sense. They get it in a very academic, very highbrow, very unintelligible sometimes way.
Marketable.
Sometimes
kind of
marketable.
message.
Yeah. But every religion has done that from the dawn of time.
Yeah.
Whether it was the Taoists or the Confucianists, the Egyptians, the Catholics, every religion has done it. We know secrets that you don't know, and you can only know these secrets by studying with us. And we'll only charge you $25.99 a month.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So they enlighten you, but the first way they enlighten you is by lightening your wallet.
Oh, zing! Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
That's an original. You can use it. It's
Karl
copyrighted.
Clancy.
Keep that.
It's copyrighted. Yeah. $24.99 a month.
At least
So-
you were honest, Karl.
So it actually started with, I was listening to a guy, a mystic from Germany, named Thomas Hubel, and Thomas said that part of his healing journey was transpersonal. And I went, gotta stop you there, Tom. What in the name of holy fuck is transpersonal? I'm not a stupid person, but it was my first time coming across transpersonal, so I went away and I looked it up. And I went, oh, I get it. That there is an interrelationship between you and me, that part of my healing journey was not only healing me, it was healing my relationship with you and therefore healing your relationship with me, and it made it an us thing. So my healing journey became an us thing. Okay, I get it. But Tom, you've lost the next 15 minutes of your conversation while people are trying to work out what transpersonal is. So I wrote the book to appeal to people who just want to live a normal life and don't quite understand why they feel so frustrated, why things don't work out the way they want, why they're manifesting like crazy but they still haven't got a 6-figure salary, why they meditate as hard as they can but it just seems to only take the edge off. And it was like, okay, I need to explain this in a way that I can understand it, because if I can understand it, trust me, pretty much any fucker can understand it. Not the sharpest tool in the box, by any means, and I freely admit that. Also, not qualified to tell you how to live life. No qualification other than
Karl,
I have
promote your.
I have survived.
You don't need to tell the viewers that.
I have survived 50 years of some of the most horrendous shit that can ever happen to a human being without living somewhere like Kosovo. So, yeah, I survived it, but I didn't live. And then I got to a point where I started to live. And then I went, oh, this is living, is it? This is nice. I'm going to tell people about this, because they're only surviving too. They need to be living. And that's where the book came from.
That's brilliant, Karl. The Art of Acceptance.
The Art of Acceptance is the name of the book, and it's basically not a manual. It's signposts.
Okay.
It's just signposts for, if you do this, some bad shit's going to happen to you. So if you choose this is why this is a good thing.
Okay.
If you keep on doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. So if you're happy with that, carry on. But if you'd like to make changes, first thing you got to realize is you can't make any changes. Because the more you try to change, the more you become yourself. And the more you become yourself, the less you can change. So you're not making changes, you're just getting rid of some bad habits or old habits that don't work, and you're replacing them with better habits. Keep it simple.
So where can we find or when can we expect the Art of Acceptance, Karl?
Right, well that's out at publishers at the moment, so it's probably going to be 6 months before that hits anyone.
Okay.
But, I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Often.
And we will
Buy the
keep
book!
all of you posted often.
Buy the book, buy the book.
Yeah, buy the book.
Is this one going to be on Amazon as well? Yeah.
No, this one hopefully is going to be like general release bookshops, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Maybe Amazon too.
Hey, we'll throw it on Amazon too if anybody wants it there.
Well, the very best of luck with it, Karl. That's brilliant.
Cheers.
Okay, Karl, could you tell us anything about, I suppose, our next topic that we have here is capitalism and marketing, Karl.
Oh yeah, they're two of my favourites.
Yeah.
See, everybody's so busy looking out for themselves these days because it's so difficult to live in Ireland. It really is, and that it does things to your mental health. It does things to your physical health, because we're all burnt out from working like dogs, getting taxed to the hilt in a low tax economy, with all the hidden tax. And look at fuel, look at petrol, look at diesel, blah blah blah. So the idea for me is, how do you change the philosophy? And what do we look at to change the philosophy? And this is, without getting too deep or too into it, is the society we live in doesn't work for everyone.
Absolutely not.
It works if you're making 50 or 60 grand a year and up. That's when our society works. That's when people are comfortable. That's when people can afford to live. Other than that, what you can afford to do is survive. And since when you die, you don't survive, all you're doing is staving off the inevitable and not being happy while you're doing it. So, what do? Well, I came up with this wonderful idea independently, but apparently the Danes beat me to it. It's a thing called Cooperative Capitalism. It's where you sacrifice making the most profit you can and give some of the money that you would have made in profit to your employees. And that way they have things like a living wage, decent health care. They get taxed, but they don't mind because they're making enough money to live a happy life. So if you have cooperative capitalism, it doesn't stop you from having a nice car. It means that you can afford to have a nice car. It's not going to break your bank. It's not going to have you wondering, how do I afford everything else in life to get a nice car? What do I have to do? How much overtime? When will I see my kids? So you have all that takes us away from happiness. And that's capitalism. Now, capitalism is driven by marketing. And marketing's job is really simple. Marketing says you're not happy. Because happy people don't buy shit. Because people buy shit to get a rush of dopamine that makes them feel happy for a short amount of time. So marketing says, you can't be happy. You don't have an iPhone 13 Pro.
Yeah.
2. With the new buds.
That's exactly what it said to me, Karl.
That's exactly what it says. And because it says that, you can't be happy because Karl's got one and James doesn't have one. So how can James be happy?
I'm not happy that James doesn't have one and I have one. Now I feel guilty about having one. I want to buy one for James.
That's even better. You're an altruist and you're getting screwed twice.
I'm even happy when I get what I want. Fuck's sake.
So that took me along the lines that the comedian Bill Hicks in the 80s was kind of like, marketing sells unhappiness. Turn off your TV, buy less shit. There you go. That's the solution to that. Get your local representatives to start looking at cooperative capitalism. Venture funds make as much money as they can for their shareholders. Their shareholders have as much money taken off them as they can by their government. So the venture funds must make more so that the government can take more. Our government is about to give us all 200 quid for electricity. But they're the ones screwing us for the price of the electricity. So they're going to take it and then they're going to give it back to us. But they're going to take more than they give back to us and tell us that we should be happy. Are you fucking kidding? So when you start looking at life in those terms of, hang on, I'm happy with a car that has 4 wheels, gets serviced regularly, is clean inside and out, goes from A to B, and is a miser on diesel.
Yes, winning.
It is now, but an electric car is in my future because, well, electric cars are the way to go.
Where we're going. No more Toyota Starlets.
Yeah.
Great car, by the way, but sure.
Wonderful cars. But I don't need a new BMW. But in my 30s, I had a new BMW.
Everything that went with a car.
Yeah, and then I had our 4th kid, and then my 2 sons made this song. When your BM's gone and you can't go on, you drive a tragedy.
Soccer mom car, yeah.
Hyundai Trajet.
Oh, that's tragedy.
Yeah, tragedy.
Oh.
That was it. That's what we called her. 2-litre tragedy. 30 miles to the gallon if you were going downhill with all the doors open with a following wind. So that's basically my take on capitalism and marketing. So want less, and the less you want, you'll find the less you want. You know, I have a phone. I've had it for 2 years because the phone company gave it to me for free. No, they didn't. They gave it to me to keep me paying them €60 a month for the contract that I'm in. I hardly ever make phone calls. I use the internet. So, do I really need the nice shiny phone? Not really. So the next time they offer me a phone, I'm going to say, nah, you know what? I want you to reduce my bill. I'll keep my phone and I'll save myself some money. And what does money equate to? The amount of life I'm prepared to pay for something. So this phone costs a week of your life. A whole week of your life. So, are you prepared to give up a week of your fucking life that you could be spending with your missus and your kids having happiness. Not the missus and the kids that drive you demented because you're too tired. Not the missus and the kids that are giving out that they can't afford nice things because you can't make enough money. No, the missus and the kids that go, yeah, we don't need a phone like that. We need you. We
Love
need
you anyway,
here.
Dad. Yeah,
Yeah,
come
we
on,
need you
Dad.
here.
Hang out here, yeah.
And my kids taught me that because I used to work 70, 80 hours a week.
Me too.
And I worked like a fucking lunatic. And what did I get for it? A divorce.
And unhappiness. Turning your hair
Unhappiness.
out, yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking, how did I get to here? How did
Yeah.
this happen? I meant well.
Bingo! I was
doing this for them.
I was doing this for them. And now I have 4 kids that I see all the time. I have great relationships with. They're great people. They steal more money off me now than I ever thought was possible.
Kids are expensive, Carl. Yeah.
Let me tell you, the Irish government, the Troika, and possibly the Soviet military couldn't get more money out of me than my kids do.
We're specialists. Yeah.
And then I have a 24-year-old son who will tell you it would take the jaws of life to get a fiver out of his pocket.
yeah.
That boy, he will not spend jack shit.
Yeah,
Why?
clever
Because
boy.
he doesn't want to, because he doesn't need stuff.
Mm.
We had to buy him clothes at Christmas because he just went,
He
I
just
don't
wouldn't.
need stuff.
That's rare, Carl. Be thankful in this generation, yeah.
Yeah, but he's a deep one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Well,
the
the apple
he's-
never falls far. Pretty far.
I think he was on a hill because that boy is his own person, all by
Fair
himself.
play to him and all
That's the
credit
best
to
way
you,
to
to a
be.
good dad and man.
But none of them aspire to owning everything, having everything. Now, the youngest, she's 17. She aspires to world domination. So, and
Aim
look out.
high, aim high.
No. When the Taoiseach's name is Mma Clancy, then the country's fucked. Because there would be no more capitalism for any of you.
Got some time.
17, you've got about 4 years, man.
Very, very little time.
Yes, that takes care of capitalism and marketing, but that's just a case of looking at life in a different way.
Yeah, I see.
And that's all part of that whole Art of Acceptance book is just, do I really want this or do I want this? What's my quality of life here? And does my life have quality?
That's it.
You know?
Yeah.
And do I want quantity or quality? And where's the balance? Because I'm not saying, for the love of Jesus, I'm not saying everybody needs to live in a mud hut, have 2 t-shirts and a pair of jeans
right.
and walk barefoot. You know?
No, me
It's
neither.
nice
But
to have a car that's reliable and drives you from A to B.
Yeah.
And
you need
that's
money to have
comfortable,
options.
And
Yeah.
you need money to have options. And you cannot, if you think you're free, try to do anything in this country without money.
you can't go to the park without fucking money, Carl.
You need to take a bus,
Yeah.
or else you gotta walk.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you walk for long enough, you're gonna need new shoes.
I'm going to the park to walk. I'm going to walk to the park and then walk in the park and then walk back home. Yeah.
And that's gonna make your shoes wear out. And you're gonna need to buy new shoes.
That's it.
So there you go. That's all part of that art of acceptance. Looking at things and seeing things clearly. Marketing sells unhappiness, and unhappiness makes unhappy people. And unhappy people are the reason that our society is so isolated from itself, from each other, and why people turn to things like drugs, alcohol, why people abuse drugs and alcohol. That happens simply because people are unhappy. Happy people do not do the kind of things that heroin addicts do. We'll take that as the extreme example.
Okay.
No happy person ever went, I wonder what heroin's like, and then went out and tried heroin. Because it never entered their mind. There was a test done on rats in the 70s, and they addicted them to heroin. And the rats literally spent all their time just walking over, getting heroin from their little water bottle, and going back and sitting down and just being stoned. Because they had nothing else to do. They were miserable rats. They gave the rats a playground. And they gave the rats each other to play with. And all of a sudden, all the rats drastically reduced the amount of heroin they were using. They would occasionally, every once in a while, nip in and have a little sniffer as a treat.
Yeah.
But they were happy rats. And happy rats didn't need heroin to make them happy. So addiction was never the problem. Addiction is the symptom of the problem.
Oh, no one wants to be addicted, Carl. I mean,
No.
that's somebody's son, somebody's daughter. Nobody like set out, oh, I think I'll be addicted to drugs for the rest of my life.
But why then do we have criminal offences for addicts? Instead of making a society that's happy enough that there won't be any fucking addicts. And here's the kicker that the Irish government will not like. You have to have the services in place to help the people who are unhappy. And you have to have a society that's built around the people and making them fucking happy. It's really simple. And as long as our society is broken and only people on 50k and above can afford to live in this country in a happy way without worrying whether it's heating or eating we're doing this week.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
without worrying
very
about
common, Carl.
how do I get to work this week because I don't have insurance on the car.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to chance it.
That's it. Gonna have to
And,
chance it.
and then you're going to be a criminal because you had to chance it.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
had to get to work or else lose your job.
And then it'll get worse from there.
And it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. It's
So
just spiral
true.
to the bottom.
That's so true, Carl, yeah.
And all of that all harks back to why addiction, it was never, the addict is never to blame. They're not to blame. All they're to blame for is the method of happiness that they tried to use. Other people use methods of happiness and they're not blamed at all. Other people work 80 hours a week, don't see their families.
Mm.
Other people have affairs. They don't get thrown in jail. Other people
Drink.
will drink as an addiction, and Diageo will do adverts for it. You know, it's like, drink responsibly. I will drink responsibly because I can afford to. I can afford to because I'm not using it to numb anything. I'm not using it to make me feel happy or make my problems go away. I'm using it to be sociable and then have a nice feeling. So I don't use it at the expense of anything else. I use it just to feel like, yeah, it's a nice little treat. It's my heroin in the corner. But if I've got a playground, I don't need it. But you can't have a playground in this country unless you're on 50k or up. And don't even get me started on fucking Dublin rents. Christ on a bike.
Yeah.
Dublin rents!
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I rent a house in Tipperary, and it's a 4-bedroom detached house on nearly a half acre of land in a little village 10 minutes from Clonmel, in the countryside. It's beautiful, it's quiet, it's leafy, it's secure, and it's $750 a month.
That's gas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Try that.
Ah, excuse me.
You wouldn't even get a 1-bedroom apartment.
You
I
wouldn't get a doghouse in
I wouldn't
Dublin,
get
right?
Lego.
Yeah.
They opened a new Lego shop. I know why they opened a new Lego shop. It's cheaper to go in there and buy the Lego and build a house than it is to actually buy a house in Dublin. Christ on a bike.
Yeah, it's very unfair, and you can see the tents everywhere,
Yeah.
and you can see the unhappiness everywhere, and you can see the suicide everywhere, and you can see
and
the
everything leads into everything else. You know, you don't see these things in environments where you have enough. People who have enough don't have these problems. But the problem is that we're told what enough is supposed to look like.
Mhm.
I did a job recently in somebody's house and they had an 85-inch TV. I mean, that's 85-inch TV. Who the fuck needs an 85-inch? I could see literally the hairs on somebody's arm from 20 feet away. There's very few people in the world whose hairs on their arm I want to be able to see from
It's on
20
an 85-inch TV. It's pretty impressive. Yeah,
It's-
yeah. I want to
it's
see it though.
Huge. Not needed. Not needed at all.
Yeah, not necessary.
And one in every room. So when did we need a TV in every room?
Yeah, yeah.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
It's also isolationist. Because I'm going to watch what I want to watch, you're going to watch what you're going to watch, and you're going to do your thing on your tablet. And when do we actually come together as human beings in a family and reaffirm our bonds?
Mm.
We don't.
No.
And then we talk about teenage isolation, teenage feelings of abandonment, teenagers who are unhappy, they don't know why. I've been through all that. Fuck it, I was that. And this is why I look at it now and go, no, something's got to change here. And this is why I wrote a book. It's called The Art of Acceptance.
Art of
You should probably
Acceptance,
read it.
in case we brought it up. Yeah, Carl. No, I like. It's very sad, but it's very true. You know, it's very true.
Yeah, and there's no, like, I can make an upbeat comment about it. Like, it's possible to change this. In Denmark, where they did change this, they now have the happiest society in the world. And how you quantify that is you ask people, are you happy? And they go, yeah. And how many TVs do you have in your hand?
Yeah.
Now we're being
we might be
skirting awfully close there to the
We're trying to take down the government here in some of these comments here, Carl. Like,
no,
I
don't want to take down the government.
No,
I
just
want to take apart the government and reassemble it in a way that looks at people as the most important asset in the country. It's like saying that every woman in the country has to be looked at differently by business. If I told every business in the country that every woman in the country is going to supply your next generation of customers and your next generation of workers, all of a sudden that woman had better be looked at really differently. Because if she decides not to have kids, where are you going to get your customers and where are you going to make your profits from? So, so just a quick pounds, shillings and pence. Your bottom line is affected and determined by how many children there are in this world. And that's determined by how many women want to have them and how many women are prepared to put up with your bullshit in order to live in the society that you're creating. So women, you've actually got a lot more power than you think you have.
You sure do, Carl. Okay, so that kind of covers capitalism, marketing and addiction. Where would you hear it, folks?
I know.
But this is great, you know. I'm sure these are the types of talks you have at home in the sitting room. But you don't want heard loud, but we're going to have them.
But you see, that's it. We need to have these out loud. We need to be able to have these conversations out loud and actually saying to each other, yeah, that's not happy. Happy is when I go for a walk with the kids. That's happy. And when that becomes normal, instead of the new BMW becoming normal. Oh, you bought a BMW. You worked 80 hours a week to get your BMW. Yeah, I spent 40 of that 80 hours a week having the crack.
Yeah.
With my family. Oh, and your kids don't even know you.
Yeah.
My kids know everything. They even know where the bodies are buried. Because they helped me bury them. Family bonding.
Today's activity.
Get your shovel.
Playtime at the Clancy house. Moving on, before I turn this off. Carl, self-defense. A couple of topics that I asked Carl to throw. We've no shortage of topics, by the way. But
that's because I talk shit.
No, they were brilliant. But you go down a rabbit hole on every one of them. Self-defense, Carl. What's your philosophy or stance? I mean, there's been a couple of attacks. I think there's always attacks, but what's your, there's been a couple of very recent attacks.
There's two things happening at the moment. A, women are starting to report more attacks.
Mm-hmm.
This is because they feel like they're on the crest of a wave that will actually be listened to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fair enough. B, I think there are actually more attacks. I think that society is actually going that way.
Yeah.
And my take on self-defense, because there's a lot of guys out there now doing self-defense classes, and they're basically doing self-defense classes that are brilliant if women are prepared to keep up the training. But if you're only going to do 4 weeks of a self-defense class, A, you won't learn anything enough to make it stick and make it last. And B, an awful lot of the time they come at it from the wrong angle. I won't say wrong angle, but they come at it from the angle of getting into a fight.
Yeah.
And learning to hit a man. Now, I would ask women a lot, especially women in martial arts. I'm sure you have women who kickbox here, yeah?
Would you, yeah. Shout out to all our women that kickbox here, all the gals.
It's really simple question. Would you get into a kickboxing ring with a guy who is 2 weight classes up from you and you have no idea how good he is or how well he's able to handle himself?
I'll ask them, Carl.
Most of them will say no, because it's not my weight class and it's a bloke.
It's not smart.
And it's not smart. So why in the name of Christ would you get into a fight with him on a street when he attacked you first and has the upper hand. You don't get into a fight. So you got to teach women a different way. You got to teach women who are not kickboxers to start with not to panic. You teach them that first. You teach them to get used to the idea of panic and how to overcome it. And then you teach them really simple things that are universal, that work really well. Things like acrylic nails and gel nails are amazing weapons if you stick them in somebody's eye.
There you are now.
Real simple.
Put them to use.
In that in close.
Yeah.
You're not trying to do anything else. All you want to do is break a grip and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
So at that moment in time, it's, oh my God, straight into his eyeball.
The old finger in the eyeball.
And the finger in the eyeball overrides everything. Because we're designed as humans to protect our eyes above everything. If I do this, you do that.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest reaction in the world. It doesn't stop anything because it's only a flap of skin down over your eyes.
Yeah, but
But
it's also the most
It's the
natural
most basic.
thing. Yeah.
So it breaks somebody's concentration, it'll loosen their grip, then you push and run, shouting at the top of your fucking lungs.
Yeah.
You're not there to get in a fight. 90% of your attackers are coming at you from behind.
Yeah.
And they're grabbing you either around the throat,
neck, yeah.
grabbing you by the hair.
Yeah.
You know,
Fucking try and lift you up and put you in the back of
Yeah.
the van or something, yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
This is what you got to work on.
Yeah.
And you got to work on the surprise first, and then the simple shit second. And once you get those, I mean, a couple of years ago there was a spate of attacks in Temple Bar, and it was some guy was going around and he was rear naked choking women out.
Fuck.
Now, rear naked choke, you got 5 or 6 seconds once it goes on before you start getting lightheaded and go to pass out.
Yeah.
And that's if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're struggling and gasping for air, your body is just using up all its oxygen and you're gone.
You're gone even quicker, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing to do with rear naked choke is teach women what it's like, what it feels like to get suddenly jumped from behind and have that put on in a way that's realistic so that they can overcome that panic. And then teach them 1 or 2 simple things that help them in the situation. Simple things. And then there's a guy called Bobby Duggan runs a thing called Safe Skills. Now, Bobby doesn't do self-defense. He does situational awareness, appropriate response, and get the fuck out of this.
Okay. A lot of martial art, yeah. yeah. That's brilliant.
You met Bobby at the last seminar.
At the same, yeah, the
Yeah.
master something.
Yeah, Bobby's this kind of guy who the most practical approach is going to be the one that's used. There will be no frills and it's going to hurt. So in the classes he teaches, and I had a great time for them, he teaches the awareness, he teaches the real life feeling of what it's going to be like and how to get yourself safely away. He's not there teaching you how to fight. I see a lot of people who do a 6-week Krav Maga course and think that they are going to be able to handle themselves against an attacker. They won't. Now they will if they take that 6-week Krav Maga course and turn it into the way they live. So that women that start in a 4-week self-defense course come down and start kickboxing because they'll get used to pain, they'll get used to getting hit, they'll get used to hitting properly, but they'll also get used to understanding how someone feels when they're closer, how someone looks at them.
In the uncomfort zone. Yeah.
And they also won't project the air of being a victim. Women with their keys in their hands, they're already tense, they're moving a certain way, they're fitting the profile of the person that they're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Because they're already tense, they're already hyper, and they're not going to be able to move freely. So when he jumps them, they're going to freeze first, and all he needs is 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Because all he wants is a quick slap, and then he's got his way. So that's what you're teaching them more than anything else, is how not to be a victim, is how not to feel like a victim, how not to feel like you're automatically threatened, and are tense.
Yeah.
It's how to relax into the situation. Accept it for what it is, rather than what you want it to be.
All these things interlink, Carl. But no, that's what we try and do as well. Like, I mean, we do try and say that, look, self-defense is completely different from kickboxing or Thai boxing. Like, that those two are a sport. Self-defense is I'm trying to get away from you or disarm you or stop you within 1 or 2 moves and get the fuck out of here. It's not as much fun to practice, and you have to practice it, as you say, like you want to make that your life. But if we can get you to walk out that door with 1 or 2 things, well then great job done. Someone grabs you from behind, you'll bang the arse trick and grab the leg with triangle legs, and stand up trick, that's a good one.
It was just a case of drilling simple shit.
Yeah.
I'm not here trying to teach you how to be Steven Seagal fighting Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris at the same time. I'm trying to teach you how to do some simple things and get out of it. Like, I got stabbed outside my own front door in Cabra. I was 23. Jumped by a dozen young fellas. Now, the most sensible thing I did in that fight was I wrapped my jacket around my arm because they were tooled up, and I hit people when I could hit them to make a hole. I took somebody's bike lock off them and used it to realign most of his face. I did not have a choice in the matter. It was a them or me situation.
Yeah.
I'm not happy or proud about that, but you know,
justified.
necessary.
Necessary is what I meant to say.
Necessary
is what I meant to say.
But as soon as I saw a hole, I ran, and I did not stop running until I had.
It's not a. It's
and
not
I hid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good.
I ran down an alleyway, and it was black down there, and they were too afraid to follow me down because I still had the bike lock in my hand. But that was it. Run, hide, get away. Now, I had to go to the Mater that evening because when I went inside into my house, I had a nice big hole in my back where I'd been stabbed. I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And I had a collapsed lung, and I had to go for surgery. Yeah. And if I didn't run away, I would have lost enough blood to make me weak. Because in the hospital, I actually passed out through blood loss. So if that had happened to me on the street, forget it. I don't care, you're Bruce Lee, you lose blood, you're going down, brother.
Yeah.
So that was it. That's the best education I got there. Was A, have something to defend yourself. B, do what you need to do to make a hole. C, get the fuck away. That's self-defense. And that's why you hear people saying about traditional martial arts, oh, it wouldn't work in a cage. And they're absolutely right. 90% of it wouldn't work in a cage. Because you need, in a cage, for the two opponents to square up to each other in that way, where you're looking for a hole and an opening. Out in the street, some lad is just coming at you hard, full bore, and that's the asymmetric combat, where you have a choice. Get engaged, potentially get hurt, or run away. And if you can't run away, hurt him in whatever way you have to, run away. At the end of the day, run away. It goes back to the basics. But all that wouldn't work in a cage stuff. An awful lot of stuff wouldn't work in a cage. I can't stick my finger in your eye when we're on the ground. I can't bite you if you try to put a rear naked choke on me. You know,
they're two different worlds completely.
Two different, and they shouldn't be conflated.
No.
I wouldn't get into a cage with some of the guys who are doing it because, well, if I got into a cage, I'd get killed. I'm an old man. I get killed. But
call me go for a point.
I'd rather go for a point. But at the same time, if I meet the same guy out on the street, what do? Well, I run away. And what happens if I can't run away? Well, I'll try to kick him in the knee and then run away.
Yeah.
I'll try to stamp on his big toe and then run away. I'm not going to engage him in the kind of fight that he wants me to. I'm also not going to use Tai Chi. You know, it's not going to be parting the horse's mane and blocking and gentle. It's going to be stick my finger in his eye.
It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah. Spit in his mouth. and run away.
Very specific there.
Oh, it's actually one of Bobby's favourites. If you spit in somebody's mouth, they forget about everything else.
Did he actually do that?
He's done that to
Tonight,
me.
class, we're going to practice spinning.
He's done that to me
All right.
in a demonstration. Bobby! Sakes.
We should get Bobby a shout out, man. He's
Bobby is a hero. He also used to teach the Irish Army Ranger Wing self-defence.
wow.
So
Bobby knows his stuff.
Bobby's a dude.
Bobby's up there.
And he's the only person with Parkinson's that I actually would be afraid to even think about getting in a fight with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so embedded in him.
Oh,
It's
like this old man just sauntering around and pretending that he's just grand, and then he'd kill you dead.
Yeah. Like I said,
Yeah.
he demonstrated one or two things in the nicest possible way and came up to me, and he's just
Nice old guy.
nice guy. I mean, he even just puts his finger on you. It's painful. He's
Yes.
just a wetter,
And he has this
harder.
horrible habit of catching you unawares. Where we met, just outside that room, Bobby comes out and he goes, "Karl, Parkinson's is acting up. You wouldn't put on my belt for me, would you?" And I was like, "Give us the fucking thing." I went up to wrap it around his waist and he just goes, I'm like, "Oh, you bastard." He's like, "Yeah, got another one."
I guess it's not that bad. Gotcha.
He's like, yeah, okay, didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
And he doesn't let it defeat him. You know, he's the
Legend.
quintessential martial artist. But he teaches the very simple thing of run away first. Do what you need to second, but run away first. Don't get in a fight. Or if you're going to get in a fight full bore and do whatever it is you have to do without any hesitation and then run away. And that's it. That's the up and down of cage versus not cage. And I suppose you get into the thoughts on MMA in general. Now, there's an awful lot of kids that are trained in MMA, but are they trained in when not to use it and how not to use it? You know, is there an honor system? Is there a code of conduct, a universal one that's upheld by everyone? And sometimes yes, sometimes no. So does MMA, is it mixed martial arts or is it mixed combat sports? That's a big debate, and it's something that as it matures and as it grows, because it's still a baby, it'll be making decisions as to whether it's a sport, and then it'll be making decisions as to whether it's a martial art. And the two are different. Combat sport is different to martial art. Like we said, me as a martial artist, my job is to get home safe. If I have to hit someone, then I have to hit someone. But if I don't have to hit him, then I shouldn't be hitting him.
That's it,
Whereas-
then you're just a fucking bully.
Yeah. Whereas in sports combat, if you're in a ring, you have no choice but to hit him. Because if you don't hit him, he's going to hit you.
That's
why you're signing up for it.
And that's the symmetrical part of it. This is what we both signed up for.
Yeah,
And yet there's
There's honour
a
in
great honour in that.
yeah.
And it's something that I would love to see MMA foster is the absolute honour it is to step in and go toe to toe with someone and then go, "You're a hell of a fighter.
Let's go for a point.
Let's go for it."
Points and chats after the fight.
Pints and chats.
It is in the
So
gas,
you got
Karl,
me there,
because
you got me there.
to me and you, probably MMA is, and even James, MMA is in our minds, maybe it's a generational thing, but a mix of martial arts. You could be doing taekwondo and say karate, and you were a mixed martial artist. You could
Well,
be
that's where
doing
it came
boxing
from.
and something else.
Yeah.
But I think any outsider looking in thinks MMA and they think cage fighting. You know?
And they don't just think cage fighting. They think Thai boxing or kickboxing stand up, and jiu-jitsu or in the case of Khabib, sambo, and they think that that's the extent of mixed martial arts. Whereas mixed martial arts, like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, has elements of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, which has elements of other martial arts, which is elements of Chinese martial arts. It all has
and
history.
that's the mix of martial
Yeah.
arts, mixed martial
Yeah,
arts.
that's
That's
so-
it, yeah.
And I think it's important that people don't think that it just started with UFC 1. You know, this was Veltudo in Brazil. It was various martial arts throughout the ages, like when the Westerners went to China and boxing was brought to fight against martial artists. And you see it these days. You see MMA guys going out and beating up so-called Chinese martial arts masters. That's because the Chinese guys stayed in tradition and traditional movement and traditional ways, and their combat is based on the traditions.
Yeah. Sword fighting.
Yeah.
Stick fighting.
And
horseback.
and using particular styles. Whereas if you look at Bruce Lee, who was probably the first mixed martial artist of the modern era, it's a case of whatever works, from whatever angle, however I can. Be it fencing, boxing, kickboxing, judo, whatever, doesn't matter. Everything, throw it all in. And he called it Jeet Kune Do, which he also said was his biggest mistake, was putting a label on it, because it limited what it could be and what it couldn't be. So I would love to see mixed martial arts go back and revisit their heritage, learn where they came from, understand that some guy who does MMA beating up a Chinese master, the Chinese master is a Chinese master of a particular discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Fight him in that discipline.
Yeah.
And then tell me what you think. Or allow the Chinese master to be one of the ones that branched out into modern stuff. Have somebody fight Bruce Lee, or a Bruce Lee student, in that kind of environment.
In a certain rule set.
In a rule
That's what
set.
MMA is. It has
Yeah.
certain rules.
And then
to it.
and see how they stack up. And all of a sudden they stack up really differently.
That's
It's
it.
like everybody goes, oh, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's just, you took some of the stuff, and Hickson Gracie and Hoist Gracie and Helios Gracie couldn't make it work because of their body types and their size. So they had to adapt it, and they adapted it more into ground fighting. And they got really, really good at it. But if you go back and you look at the likes of Billy Robinson doing catch wrestling, and you look at Karl Gotch doing catch as catch can and American collegiate wrestling, it stacks up really well against jiu-jitsu. And it works against jiu-jitsu and has been used against jiu-jitsu. And there you go. So yours isn't the only way of doing it. There is no only way. Everything works in the right circumstances.
That's it, Carl.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, so it wouldn't work in a cage. And where is MMA going? Those are two lovely questions. But they're going to keep going for generations. And I'll be an old man watching what MMA becomes. And some parts of MMA are great, and some parts are not so good. The not so good is the WWE act that goes along with some of the fighters, like Conor.
That's the game, though, Carl,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's,
I mean,
it's,
like
it's attract people in.
Yeah, unfortunately, because we know ourselves. Like, I mean, it's shock and awe and outrage and stuff like that. And I know because, like, I mean, it hurts me to say. I mean, I wish everyone would want to go and see the night. I wish being good enough was good enough, but unfortunately, in the sport, it's like fucking everything else. You've got the face of the sport and you've got the underbelly, how it actually fucking works. And if you know this person, you do that here, you do this for me, and I'll do that for you. What are we chasing?
We're chasing the money.
Yep.
Well, yeah, if some poor young fella if that's his dream or whatever, and he's a superstar, like, I mean, he's got the skills to get that good, but unfortunately you've got a couple of roadblocks or a couple of things that you need to do to get him onto those platforms, or people you have to fucking shake hands with to do that. And you can't, like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? I mean, it's
You either dance with the devil,
or
else you dance with God, and if you do the dance with the devil, you get paid. And that's basically it.
Unfortunately.
It's like, it's no offense to Conor McGregor, I actually think he's one of the best adverts for MMA that ever came out, when he was, before the whole thing became kind of a parody of itself. But what happens when you give a kid from Drimna 500 million quid? I'm sorry.
Look what happened to Mike Tyson and all of
If
this.
you gave me 500 million quid and I'm 50, I'm not so sure that I would have the presence of mind not to buy a 300-foot yacht.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you give somebody everything they ever wanted. they're probably going to go with it.
That's it. I think they did a study, Carl, where they went back to lottery winners after maybe a year or two after they'd won it. Have you ever seen that study?
I've seen that because basically they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And the best thing you can do if you win the lottery is give it away. Spread it out amongst all your family, give it away. And then you're going to be doing exactly what we've been talking about all this time, is how much is enough?
Yeah.
Enough is whatever I need to be comfortable in my life.
Yeah.
And then after that, you don't need anything else. So, there you go.
Wow,
So-
what a fascinating talk, Carl. We went from self-defense to martial arts to promotion to money.
Money's about everything.
Yeah, well, in our society, money is fucking everything.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You know?
Unfortunately.
Ain't nobody doing nothing for free.
No.
That's true.
Speaking of which, guys, thanks for the cut.
There's just one more topic that we have wrote. Balance.
Balance. Well, balance is what we've been talking about the whole way through, really. Is I got to make a buck, but how many bucks is enough bucks? Balance in everything. I've got to go training, but I've got to spend time with my kids. I've got to go to work, but I've got to spend time at home. Life, if we put it in balance, works. When things are out of balance, we get unhappy. So you got to look at your life and go, where are the bits that aren't balanced? Because those are the bits that are making me unhappy. And if you can look at your life in that way, if you can say, yeah, I'm not happy in this job because it's taken 60 hours of my week, or it's taken 40 hours of my week, but they're soul destroying and I'm only getting paid X.
Yeah.
There's no balance there. I've done those jobs. You know, during the recession, I literally was in a van selling frozen fish from a box at 50 euros a pop to people who had probably just been let go from their jobs. I was really good at it too, but it was soul destroying work, so I just didn't last at it. It was like, no, I can't do this. There's no balance to this life. So you gotta find balance in everything. And that, it doesn't matter what it is, it's when you find balance, it starts to infect all your life. So all of a sudden you become happier in yourself, happier with your kids, happier in your job. You pay more attention to everything you do. And if you pay more attention to it, you get better at it. And you start to let go of the things that don't make you happy. And all of a sudden you're living a nice, calm, positive, relaxed, easygoing life. Because you've got it in balance. It's like the guy running around with all the plates. He runs around with all his plates, trying to keep them all in balance. Put them on the floor. Take the sticks. Find the person who got you to spin the plates and hit them with the sticks.
So many fucking plate spinner guys to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why was I keeping the plates up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they were, sooner or later, I'm going to come out of balance with one, and then everything's in danger of falling. All you got to do is just look at your life, step back, and go, what bits am I not happy with? And why am I not happy with them? And be honest with yourself. And this is the hardest thing for any of us to do, is to actually just go, I'm not happy with this because of the way I behave when I'm doing it. Or maybe you're a supervisor in work, and to be a supervisor, you have to get the most out of people. So you have to treat them in a certain way. Well, do you? Or is it easier for you to treat them that way? Is it easier for you to have them doing more for you because they have to? Because you'd have to put the effort in to get to know them for them to want to. So this is how you got to look for balance everywhere. In everything. All sorts of stuff. So, yeah, balance.
Life's balance, yeah.
So life's balance, martial arts balance, bank balance. You know, there's nobody saying during any of this that you are not allowed to make money. You're not allowed to go out and go for what you want out of life. Do it, absolutely. But bring everyone along with you. You know, bring your family along with you. Bring your friends along with you. And you discover that by bringing everybody along with you, that you don't have as many enemies. You know, because everybody's kind of going the same direction. And you get out of your own way.
Plus it feels better. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like if you're that way wired, Carl,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
it does feel better to help everybody. I mean, as corny as it sounds, you know, when you do, I always tell the lads, like, if you do well, we all do well. If you're not holding pads good for your partner just because it's your time to box, you know, that's your sparring partner. You want your sparring partner to be good. And so on and so forth. And like, you know, I didn't get to compete today, so, you know, why would I be interested to support them? Because like when it comes your time, they're going to be genuinely supporting and buying the tickets to go and see you too. Like it's a family.
I remember doing it years ago. I spent a day doing gradings. I was the uki. I was the victim for 6 people's gradings in the day, and then I did my own grading.
You're a good friend, Carl.
And I just did it because that's what, you know.
That's what you did.
They needed somebody at the level. They were all going for black belts, and they needed somebody who they could trust and who trusted them. And any of the others were not good at taking a dig. Whereas I was plenty handy at taking a dig. I'm very good at taking a dig.
I was blessed.
Yeah. I'm thicker than everybody else. So the general idea was I just volunteered on the day and just said, look, I'll be uki for the lads. And it allowed them better technique because I went in at them full bore. There was no hesitation. There was no trying to get out of it. Knowing you're going to get a dig, but knowing that they're not going to do you any damage because they're your buddies. So you'll get a couple of clatters. It's going to hurt for the day, but you'll be all right. So at the end of the day, I'll go to get my grading, and the instructor just goes, "Not today." He says, "I would like to thank you and commend you for your help of these other students, and they should all be grateful that you did it. But you can't grade today." And I'm like,
that must have been
devastating.
Yeah.
Why can't I grade today? He said, because there's no way you're going to be able to do anything properly after getting that kind of a grueling for that long. And I said, can I try? She went, yes, you can try. Oh man, it was a farce. It was like, yeah, I could barely remember anything. It was like, you're too tired, you've been beaten up for too long. It's like, he said, see, you need more time.
Your efforts are to be commended though.
Yeah, yeah. But you need more time. And I was like, yeah. But in that, there was no balance either. It was everything. Go full bore all the time. There's no hang back. There's no let somebody else be an uki for half of it and I'll do my own grading. So it took me 47 years to learn balance. And then 3 years to actually make it work. To the point where I have a business. I work a reasonable amount. I get paid well for it. I have a happy family. I get on well with my ex. I get on well with her partner. I have a partner myself who is an absolute gem. An absolute gem. You are absolutely a gem.
He talks about you that much, I feel like I know you. Gem.
So, no,
Give me
Rebecca.
I said gem. I said gem.
But yeah, it took a long time to get here. If you met me 3 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Really, all
Yeah,
that
because
kind of
you'd be
came
going-
to a harmonisation in the last 3 years, Carl.
It was really a case of getting to the point of it's all fucked. And then looking around at the Lego pieces and going, right, I've got all the pieces. What am I making? And it's taken 3 years to get to the point of be open, be friendly, be relaxed, let things be what they are. Don't have expectations. Let life happen as life wants to happen. And the more I do that, the more life seems to want to help me out. And this is manifesting. Manifesting isn't standing in front of the mirror going, 100 grand salary!
That's a bit of a pop culture therapeutic.
Yeah. Manifesting is do the work.
Yeah.
Do it in a positive way. Whatever it is, just do it. Do it positively, do it well. The more that you do this, the more that life tends to vibe along with you. And it has. And it is. And fingers crossed, it still will. And, you know, as a way to wrap it up, I would just say acceptance literally changed my life. But all it did was change how I see life. And that changed how I wanted to behave in life. And that changed how I interacted with people. And that's why when you met me at a seminar, you met the version of me that doesn't really care whether I'm the best martial artist in the world, and I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I'm a really good dad. I work hard. I have a really good relationship with a lovely woman who is gorgeous, and I'm punching well above my weight. Yes.
Get in, Karl.
Get in. And my life is good because of how I changed my habits. And that's all it was. Just change the way you live. Simple stuff. It's not rocket science. It's not big. It's not, oh, become a Zen Buddhist monk and meditate for 3 hours every day and only eat tofu.
No, it's not. But you know, I heard a good one as well. Like talk about balance. You know, the key to keeping your balance is learning when you've lost it, Karl.
Yeah.
And that's very inspirational.
Yeah, it's really simple. So the whole purpose of everything I'm trying to do and everything I'm trying to get across to people is look for the warning signs that you're losing your balance. Look for the warning signs that your life isn't working out the way you wanted it to because you're getting in your own way. The biggest stumbling block to you being happy is you. It's not the government, it's not taxation, it's not society, it's you.
But I really wanted to be blaming them, Karl. You know.
Yeah.
Can't it just be a little bit of all those as well?
It helps.
It does. But if I want things to change, Karl, as you said, like
but that's it. And the only thing that might change is your outlook. You know, the only thing that might change. You might not get the better job. You might not have a new car. You might not manifest your 6-figure salary. But if you're happy, you'll realise that I don't need it. I don't need the 6-figure salary or the new job. There's an old koan from Buddhism, and we'll finish on this one. And 2 guys, they go to their Buddhist master and they say, "What's the secret?" And he looks at them and he says, "It's only a bowl of rice." And the 2 boys go away and they both apply his philosophy to life. One of them becomes a farmer and the other one goes into business. The one that goes into business thinks it was only a bowl of rice. I deserve more. I want more. I'm going to have more. So he works really hard and gets really good and becomes the absolute best and really successful. And the other guy goes away and he becomes a farmer. He says, "It's only a bowl of rice." Yeah, but a bowl of rice is everything we eat. So a bowl of rice is really important. So I'm going to grow rice. I'm going to grow really good rice. And he grows really good rice. And eventually they meet. And the businessman is talking to the farmer. And the farmer is saying, "You've done really well. You know, obviously you learned that it's only a bowl of rice." He went, No. I learned it's only a bowl of rice." And it was both of them learning the same thing, but learning a different lesson.
Very good, Karl.
And they went back and they looked at it and they went, "What did he mean? It's only a bowl of rice." Life is what you choose to make it.
Yeah.
So choose to make it what you want to make it. And what you want to make it is going to be what it becomes. So you have to choose what you want. And that's your bowl
And
of
the
rice.
the meaning you would lend to that.
That's your bowl of rice.
That's brilliant, Karl.
There you go.
This
and
is...
I've talked for enough.
Oh, Karl, this whole podcast was brilliant, Karl.
Really appreciate it, Karl. And we'll let you do your bit there if you want.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, Karl. No, we're not done. But I just want to just say, Karl, like honestly, that whole podcast was great. Thanks so much from myself and James for coming up from us meeting you in down at the Master Seminar to leaving that kind of profound impact on the 2 of us. You didn't know what our chance meeting had.
Yeah, but see, there's more to martial arts than hitting people in the head.
That's it. I've always felt that way, Karl.
You've got to punch them in the head.
In the head, Karl. Oh, but that was cool, and you didn't get to see, guys, off camera some of the stuff Karl was showing us and all.
Use will during the ads.
It was amazing.
That's a bit of fun.
It was. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there you go. It's gonna be feeling that for a week, Jamesy. But yeah, Karl, we do this segment at the end of our show where we kind of hand out jokes. They're really bad. They're in the dad jokes bracket because we don't want to get.
I'm a middle-aged man.
kicked off.
I'm supposed to be in the dad jokes bracket. This is my bag, baby.
All right, excellent. Everybody's loving the jokes section. We've only done 3 episodes. Jamesy, can I give one of these to you as well? Like, can I go Karl, James, Karl, Jay? Yeah. Okay. All right, brilliant. Loving this. We'll let Karl go first, and then we'll go James. And I've only got 3 each today. And come here. I believe a lot of these are in the delivery personally, because when our guy that writes these wrote them, he was in stitches. So I'm gonna let Karl go first, if you would, Karl.
Well, whoever wrote these, he may be in stitches via. Christ on a bike.
Just read the jokes, Karl.
Someone said I should write a book. I thought, that's a novel concept.
Here.
Alright, my go, is it?
Please, James.
My wife asked me to pick up 6 cans of Sprite from the shop. I realised when I got home, I picked 7 up.
Oh!
Lads.
Oh, that's worse than a Dermot and Dave. That leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. Feel free to add your own here, guys. I mean, poor Dave that writes these in the back is going to be traumatised here. He's slaved over a hot stove writing these jokes.
That's the problem. I've been thinking about taking up meditation. I figure it's better than sitting around doing nothing.
What's your next special?
I'm going to add an audience laughing whether you like it or not.
I lost my job at the bank on my first day. A customer asked me to check their balance, so I pushed them over.
I'm only going to leave in the ones that get laughs.
I feel like that was good considering the whole conversation and everything we done there.
I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me.
You know, dogs can't operate an MRI machine, but cats can.
Oh wow!
Have you any, Karl? Have you any dad joke that you could
Pun
give us?
walks into a bar.
Pun.
A pun walks into a bar, kills 10 people. Yeah, pun in, 10 dead.
Oh, that's a zinger! Do you know what? I was trying to leave that one in. That was brilliant,
That's
Karl.
a winner. That's a
well
winner.
done. Right, thanks for being such a good sport, Karl. Well,
No, no.
yeah, that's the end of our show, Karl. And honestly, the very best of luck with everything that you're doing. Not that you'll need it. Thanks very much for travelling all the way up to see us. And
thanks so much for being on our show. It's
Yeah, hey, no problem. And thanks for providing a willing body to hit.
Always here for you.
So from us,
Thanks for having me, guys, and thanks very much for the mug. This is going in the treasured section. Well,
yeah.
thanks for having me up. It's great to be able to have these conversations and have chats with people about this kind of stuff.
And it's great to get it out there now as well.
Yeah.
The more it gets out, the better it becomes.
The more we do of it, the more we do.
Yeah.
So there we go. Have a good one.
That's it.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody. See you soon. That was our episode with Mr. Karl Clancy. Really hope you enjoyed it, guys. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Our finishing quote for this episode is one by Dr. Seuss, who said, "Be how you are and say how you feel."
Because those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. That's our show, guys. Thanks for watching. So till next time, hoorah!